Hello everyone, I have got another Cricut Monday for you today. So I'm going to be making a sweatshirt. As some of you know, I mentioned in one of my previous Cricut videos that one of my best friends has just had a little boy. He's now actually 6 months old, which is crazy to think about how fast time goes by. But I decided I wanted to do a little Halloween project for him. He's actually currently wearing 18 months, so this is a size 18 months sweatshirt. It's a really thin one. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to size what I'm doing to make it fit. The project that we're doing is a little bit larger. So let's jump over to Design Space and we'll go ahead and get started. I'm again here on my home screen, so I'm going to go to Cricut Access and then click View All. And then again, I will go up to Search Projects and type in Halloween. And I will scroll down. This is actually really more for an older child, but we're going to make it work for a smaller size. So it's the Skeleton Sweatshirt DIY. Again, like I mentioned before, you can print off the instructions. If you want to scroll down, it just gives you a description, finish sizing based off of what they made, and then the other items that you're going to need. I am not using glow in the dark because he's not going to be trick-or-treating. He's not really old enough yet, so I'm going to just use white. I have Sizer stretchy white iron-on that I'm going to use for this project. So here it gives you down here the fonts and the images that are used, and since we're going to customize this, I'm going to go ahead and click Customize so I can go into the Design Space. So the way I'm going to do this is I've grabbed my ruler here, and I'm having trouble. My camera seems to want to go fuzzy with this black color, so I'm going to try and keep an eye to make sure that I've got everything in here and you can see okay. Alright, so I've grabbed my ruler. Now looking at Design Space, you can see all of the items that are going to be cut out. So I know that I am not going to need anything below the waist. And because this has, I'm going to push this up a little bit, because this has sort of a smaller, it's made for a really small child, I'm going to actually cut out the hip bones as well. So I'm going to go ahead and grab these. Now I think they're not grouped together, so I'm going to delete this one. And then I'm going to delete the legs as well, but I will use the arms and the sort of rib cage area. So what I'm going to do is I want to measure the size here for the rib cage. So I'm looking at a space of roughly, I'm going to say keep it 7 inches across, I think, at the highest point or the widest point. And then I've got up and down before I hit my pocket, I've got about 6. So right now, and what I'm going to do, because this is already proportioned, I'm going to select everything and I'm going to group it. And then I'm going to look at the sizing of the rib cage, and then we'll double check just to make sure that this is going to work. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit if I can find, here it is down here, just to make it a little easier to see. And I'm just going to resize this. So I said, I have to remind myself here, 7 across and 6 up and down. So if I'm looking, I'm going to go all the way over here so I can have my grids match my rulers. So that's a little more than 7 there, so I'm going to make this a little smaller. And that should be great, actually. It gives a little bit of leeway on either side. It's probably closer to 6.5. But I want to check my height here. So my height is going to be, so it's basically 6.5 by 6.5. So let me double check this up and down again, because there is sort of a little dip there. If I start up here, nope, I think I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. I think I'm going to go exactly 6 by 6. Because that way I give myself a little bit of room there, not quite, to play around with this. Okay, so Yeah, I feel comfortable with that. So I've gone down to 5.5 by 5.5, and that should give me plenty of room to fit this in, 5.5, and then here, if I need to move it up by 5.5, that's gonna be great. Now I wanna check the size of the arm bones. So there's 2 there that we're gonna connect, and I need to keep that full length in mind. So the length of the sleeve here, starting from the seam, is, I'm gonna say 10 inches. You can see that. I know it's hard to see the black writing, but believe me, it's 10 inches. And I want to combine these together for that 10 inches. So if I start here at the top, that takes me to 4. And then if I go to 4, that takes me down to 8. Perfect. So that's going to fit in there great. And again, I'm going to have a little bit of room. So I'm actually going to reopen Design Space just so I can pull up that picture again. And have a little bit more of a comparison. So I can see the placement, and that way I can flip back and forth and I don't have to print this out. Okay, yeah, so we do want a little bit of leeway between those two, and I think that's going to fit really well. All right, so back to the first Design Space. Once I've got this set, I am going to save my project. I always save before I cut because you never know what could happen. Okay, and I'm going to click Save, and now we're ready. So I will go ahead and click Make It. And then I can see on my screen here that I'm going to need, I'm just going to give myself 10.5 by 6 inches. I think my stuff is actually 12, so I will just cut a 6-inch strip of this. Move the sweatshirt out of the way. And I think I mentioned that I'm using the Sicer stretch EasyWeed vinyl. The Sicer really is my favorite. I have used a lot of the Cricut and it works great, but my preference is just the Sicer. I think it weeds, I mean, just like the name says, it weeds really, really well. Okay, so I'm going to line this up at 6, and that's giving me a little bit of leeway because I'm really at 5.5 is what I need. I'm going to go ahead and trim that down. And then I can move this off to the side. And I'll link below for you guys where I purchase my Sicer vinyl. Okay, and again, I'm going to be using my blue mat, which is the light stick. So back over to Design Space, we want to mirror image this because we're going to be cutting it the opposite of how we're going to see it. So when I line this up here, there are 2 different sides to this iron-on vinyl. There's this side that's shiny, and then this side that's dull. The shiny side, this clear, shiny portion is actually sort of a sticky sheet. You're going to peel away the vinyl from this, and then you're actually going to be placing this side down onto whatever you're ironing onto. So you want to cut this way so that it's going to be facing the proper way when you put it down. So shiny side down is the most important thing to remember. Well, there's 2 most important things to remember. Shiny side down. Oops. And this will sometimes bubble because it's so thin. There we go. Make sure that's down. Nice and tight with no bubbles so nothing happens when it cuts out. Okay, and then the other most important thing to remember is to click that mirror button here, right here. It's only 1 sheet. That's the only thing we have to worry about this time. I'm going to click Continue. And it's going to connect to my machine. And then I'm going to go to Popular, And I will click iron-on, everyday iron-on vinyl. This is the sort of the Cricut brand, but it will work the same for your sizer. So again, it's going to give you this reminder here. Make sure the mirror is turned on and the iron-on material face shiny side is down on the mat. And I have actually got my deep cut blade in from the last project that we did. So I'm going to go ahead and switch that out really quickly now. Put in my regular blade. And we are ready to go. So I'll grab my mat, load this in. Make sure I'm recording okay on my camera. Yep, looks good. And then I can go ahead, once I'm blinking, and hit my go button. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and unload my mat. And we'll hop back over to the other camera here. And again, remember to always peel the mat off of your material like this. And I'm going to go ahead and mark that I have used this one more time. And that's all the cutting that we need to do for this project. Now, if you have an older child and you want to do the full thing, you'll have to do a little more. It may take more material. Well, it definitely will take more material. And they do have the legs, so you could get, you know, sweatpants and do those as well. Okay, so this is difficult to see. I have played around just sort of angling this and peeling everything away, but I finally decided to get myself one of the BrightPads, and I've had it for a while and I haven't used it yet. I haven't done any iron-ons. I do sell onesies at craft shows, but I'm pretty well stocked up, so I haven't had a need to make any since I got this, so I'm excited to give this a try. So I'm gonna plug this in, and then through the magic of editing, we'll just be ready to go. Okay, so hopefully this will not be too bright and it will work and you'll actually be able to see what I'm doing. But I'm going to turn this on here. There we go. And it does have some different settings. You can make it brighter if you need it. And I've got my weeding tool here. And I'm going to lay this on top. Now, I don't know if this is going to make it any easier for you to see, but it is easier for me to see the lines of everything. So I'm going to start by grabbing this piece in the center here of that arm bone. I do not know the names of those. That did not stick with me after high school. So I'm going to get rid of that there. And then I guess I will go ahead and start at the corner. So I'm going to pull, just grabbing the edge of this here. And then once I get that separated from the front sheet, and that front sheet is sticky, I'm just going to slowly peel that away. These are larger pieces, so you don't have to, I don't have to worry about like the dot of an eye, you know, or something like that. I don't have to be quite as careful as I would if I had sort of tiny pieces. But still, you want to be careful in case something didn't cut quite right. You don't want it to snag and tear the portion that you want to use. So what I'm peeling away here, what I'm weeding away, is the portion that I am not using. It's the negative of the cuts. Go ahead and just keep pulling that. And then I am going to be careful here at the little ribs just to make sure all these small cuts are good. Yeah, did a great job. Okay. And now when I get here, because I don't want to tear, I'm just going to turn this and I'm going to work back from the corner again. So just grab that and then pull this way, and that just makes it a little bit easier. Okay, so that's done, and there are a few, I think, smaller, yeah, we've got 2 more little ones here to weed out. And that's it. We've got our rib cage and our arms ready to go. Now this was scored down the center here. I'm not sure why that is. It is all still, it looks to be in one piece. Maybe they just did that for easier application. Or if you had one that actually zipped up the front. Mine doesn't, so I'm not too worried about that. And the line should not be, even though there is a line through it, that should not be visible once you iron it on. So don't worry about that. You can always take out that score line if you want to. Okay, so I'm going to get this put away. And then again, through the magic of editing, I will get out my EasyPress and we will go ahead and get this finished. Okay, so while I'm letting my EasyPress heat up, I'm sorry, I know it's kind of hard to see. It's off to the side here. This is what it looks like if you haven't seen it previously. I'll link the one that I have. I think this is the smallest one, but then I do have a larger mat. This is the 12 by 12 mat, and this works great. That little ding and this green button here means that it's ready to go. I have it set at 340 with a 30-second duration. And that is just sort of my standard for the sicer and like a onesie cotton type of material. That's what I found works the best for me. You can play around with different settings depending on what type of cloth that you're using and what type of vinyl. So I am going to go ahead first and just give my little sweatshirt here a press. It's pretty flat and straight, and the seams are okay. I'm pretty impressed with how this was mailed, actually. And I'm just going to take my EasyPress and just run that just to make sure everything is good. I don't have any wrinkles where I'm going to be placing down my vinyl. Okay, so I'm going to trim this apart first. Grab my scissors. And even if you don't need to iron your sweatshirt or whatever you're working on, it always does help to allow this to grip a little bit. You don't want it to be super hot, but it does help it to stick a little better, I've found, if you warm up the surface that you're putting it on. So because I have a cat, I always have to watch if I have any extra hairs. If you have anything that is stuck underneath the white portion that you're ironing down, it's okay if it's on the sticky portion, but if you have anything that's sort of half on, half off, it is going to be stuck down to whatever you're putting this on. So just double check that if you have animals. Okay, nice clean surface. All right, so I'm gonna lay this out here. And I've got this nice V here for my hoodie, so that's going to help me really well to line this up. You can use a ruler and sort of mark. You can fold it in half and iron it. I'm just going to use my V for now. And that score line is helping a lot too. Okay, so I think I am happy with that. It does seem a little, seems like my pockets are slightly off, but it may just be stretched. Going to place that down. And the nice thing about working with vinyl or the iron-on vinyl as opposed to the regular is that you can actually stick this down, and then if you make a mistake you can peel it back up and easily move it. When you're working with regular vinyl, and I will do some projects showing you guys how to do some things with that as well, you have to be really pretty much on when you're placing that down. Okay. All right, so I am happy with that. Looks good. I am going to use a cloth to cover this. You could use like a hanky. This is a specific ironing cloth. You can see it's been used and loved well. I think I picked this up at Joann's I mean, years ago. And it's a longer piece too. I just trimmed off a piece to stick here with my Cricut so that I just always have something available. I'm usually not doing anything too much larger than this. All right, so we've got this down. I've got my pressing cloth on top of it. I'm going to grab my heat press, my EasyPress, stick that down here right on top of my design, and then I'm going to go ahead and click the timer button. And that's gonna, I'm sorry, I'm gonna click the Cricut button. It's been a minute since I've used this. So I'm just gonna set that, and I'm not pressing on this, I'm just sort of letting the weight of my hands sit on it. And that timer is so wonderful because I don't have to sit here and count to myself. It'll let me know when it's done. And luckily this design is smaller, so I should only have to do one press to cover all of it. If you don't hit the whole thing, if you're making a larger one, you're gonna have to do this a couple different times. And you can also use a regular iron, you just don't get as even a distribution of the heat. Okay, so now I'm going to flip this over and I'm gonna do the same thing from the back. So I'm just gonna get as centered as I can here. And I'm again gonna put down my pressing cloth just because you never know. And I will hit that Cricut button. Just adding a little bit of weight with my hands. I'm not pressing down hard at all. And now it is ready to the side to go ahead and peel away the sticky backing. So I always do this really carefully. This is still pretty hot. The nice thing about this Sweatshirt EasyWeed is that you can peel it. It's a hot peel. You don't have to wait for this to cool. I have found that when I'm using Cricut, it does work better if you let it cool a bit. It doesn't have to be completely cool, but somewhat cool. With the Sweatshirt, you can go ahead and start peeling this right away. And that is amazing, isn't it? Just watch your edges as you peel up. Again, this is a larger, thicker line, so that's always going to be an easier project to do. Great. And then I like to do this one more time just to set it in. I'm going to place this down, make sure I've got it, hit that button, and just do one more 30-second press to make sure it's down nice and perfect. Okay. All right, so the rib section is done. Now I'm gonna refer back to my picture just to make sure I'm lining everything up the way I'm supposed to. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, so now we're gonna work on the arms. And because you want it to be forward facing, you're gonna want it on the front side of the arm rather than down the center, otherwise you're not really gonna see it. So I'm gonna take my sleeve here, get that in camera as best as I can for you. I'm gonna zoom out just slightly so you can see the whole thing. Okay. And I'm just gonna make sure that my seams are nice and lined up. I'm gonna give that a press. And I don't move this when I'm actually pressing the vinyl on, but you know, I just use like a regular iron if I'm just flattening something out. It works the same. Okay, slide that a little closer. It is tight quarters using all of these things with the computer and the and the Cricut and the heat press. It is awfully tight on my desk. Okay, I'm going to again cut this. And then I'm going to trim these apart as well. Okay. So we've got the solid on the top here. I'm trying to see if there's a specific direction. And it looks like this is actually sort of the way that the bone is tilted. This is actually the opposite side. So I'm going to go back here, trim this down slightly and cut these two apart. All right. So I'm going to give a little space up here like they did, and then add right in the center, that way it can sort of wrinkle around his arm. Straight down like that. And then I think I'm going to go up a little more actually. And trim some of this off. And then grab this guy. Yeah, I think that's good, just like that. And that's pretty centered, so I'm gonna kind of just hold this to make sure it looks sort of right. Yeah, I think that looks good. I like that spacing. I like the way that's lined up. Doesn't have to be perfect. And you want to make sure that if you have anything overlapping like this, you want to make sure that your vinyl is touching. You don't want to have it, you wouldn't want to have it this way, because if you have anything underneath this, it will mess up your vinyl. So make sure if you need to overlap that at all points, if it's overlapping, it's the sticky on top of the sticky, or the shiny on top of the shiny, however you can remember that. Okay. Make sure that's nice and, yep, that's good. Okay, I'm going to again grab my cloth here, and this one is definitely going to take me 2 presses. So we'll do one, and it's okay if you do, like I'm going to have to overlap and the middle section is going to get pressed twice. That's fine. It doesn't hurt it to have the heat on a little bit longer. I mean, you don't want to leave it on for like 5 minutes, but it's going to be okay if you need to do a press that covers, you know, more than one section. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and just move down here and hit that once more. Okay, and then we'll do the same thing again. I'm going to flip this over, put down my cloth, make sure I'm getting that whole sleeve there, and we will press it from the back. So I'm getting the whole thing. Okay, so again, we're gonna go ahead and peel this off. Ooh, that is hot. Okay. Again, I'm just gonna go slowly, make sure everything is nice, whoops, nice with the edges. I forgot that one was kind of attached there. Okay, thankfully, again, these are sort of thicker, so we are all good there. And again, I'm going to press this one more time now that I've removed the covering. This I do think is probably overkill, but I just want to make sure that everything is down nice and tight. So I don't know that you necessarily need to do this, but it's my recommendation that you do. I do it every time. Okay, so this sleeve is done. Now comes the sort of tricky part of trying to get both sleeves lined up to be as even as possible. So I'm going to do the same thing here. Stretch this out and give that a little press. Make sure my seams are nice and even. Okay, and I'm gonna sort of try to move this out of the way so I can see, make sure I'm getting this as even as I can. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's homemade. Okay. All right, so I have that one stretched out. Try and get this right about the same, so I think that's fairly even there. And then this one again. And I ran this to about, that's maybe a ½ an inch before the seam. So I think that works. Again, making sure that these are not overlapping. So that is a little tricky there. I'm gonna trim this down a little closer. I don't want anything overlapping. Can you even see that? I'm probably out of the frame. Oh, I've just made it. Okay. And then again, this one's longer, so I'm gonna place that down, make sure that my iron-on is touching the fabric, and then I can lay that double layer of sticky down. That won't hurt anything. Okay, so I'm just comparing my arms here, and I think that is pretty good. I'm happy with that. So I'm gonna just sort of swap this around. And I just wanna check. There's just a little something stuck there. I don't think it's vinyl, but again, anywhere you have vinyl, if you heat set this, it's going to stick. It was just a fuzzy. Okay, that's nice and flat. I'm gonna add my cover, and we'll go ahead and press this as well. Are any of you guys using your Cricuts to do anything for your kids for Halloween? I feel like there are a lot of different costumes and things that you could definitely use this for. Okay, and the next one. Okay. And again, we're going to flip it over and do the same thing on the back. Okay. Go back to the front here. Perfect. And I will go ahead and press these each one more time again. Okay, and that is our finished skeleton sweatshirt. So cute. I think they're gonna love it. If you guys follow me on Instagram, I will post a picture. I'm sure they will take a picture of him wearing it. Excuse me, and I will post a picture eventually once I've given it to them and he has had it on. So I think that's super cute and really quick and easy. I hope that the sizing and everything that I changed, you know, was understandable to you and clear. If you have any questions, as always, let me know in the comments below and I will do my best to help you out. Okay. Thanks so much for hanging out with me on Cricut Monday. I hope that you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you again soon.